Hello, everyone. Uh, Virgo, I did not expect this. That is the honest beginning of today's reading. And I want to honor it with the specificity it deserves rather than smoothing it into the kind of opening that could belong to any reading on any day. When I sat with your energy tonight, something stopped me, not in the alarming sense, in the specific, slightly breathtaking sense of encountering something in a person's field that exceeds what the words available to describe it can fully contain. The kind of thing that produces, in the person sitting with it, a quality of speechlessness, of reaching for language and finding the reach insufficient. That is where this reading lives today, in the territory of the insufficient to describe, in the space between what is coming for you and what words are able to do with it, and the happiness that spirit is pressing forward, the specific, full bodied. I did not know it could feel like this happiness is the direct result of something arriving in your life that your current imagination of what is possible for you has not yet made full room for. Take what is yours today. What resonates, let it in without the immediate analysis that tends to arrive alongside good news. What does not, release it gently. But for those of you who felt something open when I said I did not expect this, who felt the specific quality of being told something that someone else found genuinely surprising, this reading carries something today that I think deserves to be received with both hands. Let me speak about the happiness first. Before the source of it, before the explanation and the context and the specific shape of what is approaching, because the happiness itself is the most important piece, and describing it accurately matters for how you recognize it when it arrives. Because happiness of the kind spirit is bringing through today does not always announce itself in the form that the word happiness typically conjures, does not always arrive as obvious, effervescent, I can point to why I feel this joy. Soft sigh. Sometimes the deepest happiness arrives quietly as a specific quality of rightness, of something finally fitting in the specific place it was always intended to occupy, as the particular exhale of a person who has been holding a subtle tension for a long time and suddenly finds that the tension is no longer necessary, as the morning that feels different from the mornings before it in a way that takes a moment to identify, and then, once identified, produces a quality of recognition so complete that the previous mornings seem, in retrospect, to have been waiting for this one. That is the quality of happiness approaching your life right now. Not the peak of something, the settling of something, the specific and deeply satisfying quality of a life that has arrived at a version of itself that actually fits. Now, let me speak about what is producing it, because the source matters, and spirit is being unusually specific today in a way that I want to honor rather than generalize. Something is converging. Multiple things which have been moving separately, each along its own track, each developing at its own pace without apparent connection to the others, arriving at the same point simultaneously. The specific configuration of several significant things being true at once in your relationships, in your circumstances, in your own interior that produces the kind of happiness that single events rarely generate alone. Because the happiness of a single good thing is bounded by the limitations of everything else, by the areas that are still difficult, by the parts of the picture that are still incomplete. But the happiness of a convergence of multiple significant things resolving in the same window of time is different in kind rather than just in degree. It is the happiness of a life that has found its alignment rather than the happiness of a life that has received a single favorable development. Whew. Your life is finding its alignment. That is the specific thing Spirit showed me that produced the speechlessness. Not that one good thing is coming, but that the pattern of things coming together has the quality of something that was always going to look like this at this particular point. That the convergence is not accidental, but structural, built from the specific materials of everything you have been through and everything you have built and everything you have held on to through the seasons that tested whether the holding was going to be worth it. It was worth it. Spirit is confirming that today in language that does not equivocate. Every season of patience, every moment of continuing when stopping would have been the easier choice. Every small, private, unrewarded act of remaining true to who you are and what you need and what you will not accept as a substitute for what you actually deserve, all of it was building toward this, toward the specific and extraordinary configuration of a life finally reflecting the person living it. Now, I want to speak about what is speechless making the specific element in this reading that produced the reaction it produced in me. Because I think you deserve to know what it is, not as flattery, as the honest, specific, this is what I actually encountered report of someone who has been doing this long enough to know the difference between what is ordinary and what is not. You have maintained something extraordinary through an ordinary amount of difficulty. That sounds simple. It is not simple. Most people, through difficulty at the scale that yours has been, lose something. Not through weakness or failure or insufficient character, through the entirely human, entirely understandable process of being shaped by what they endure, of having the difficulty leave its mark in the form of contraction, of closing certain things, hope, openness, the specific quality of genuine expecting good things, that difficulty tends to erode in people who experience enough of it without proportionate return. You have not closed those things. That is what produced the speechlessness, the specific against the odds. I did not fully expect to find this quality of a person who has been through what you have been through and is still open, still hoping, still carrying the genuine, unperformed, nobody asked you to maintain this quality of someone who has not let the difficult seasons make them smaller. Soft sigh. That openness, the specific quality of it, the sustained and tested and genuinely earned quality of an openness that survived what tried to close it, is what the happiness is arriving into. And this is why the happiness will be of the deep, structural, actually changes things kind rather than the surface kind. Because what is arriving is meeting a person who is genuinely ready to receive it. Not just circumstantially ready, the circumstances being finally favorable, but internally ready. In the specific, built through difficulty way of someone whose openness was tested and held and is therefore real in a way that untested openness simply cannot match. Real openness receives things differently, does not immediately reach for the mechanism that makes good things smaller and therefore more manageable, does not hold what arrives at the slight protective remove that has become habitual, receives fully, lets what is good be as good as it is, lets the happiness be the size it actually is, which in this case is considerable, which in this case is the specific full bodied, so happy quality that spirit kept pressing forward with a warmth that I did not expect to feel so clearly. You are going to be so happy. In the real, daily, this is the actual texture of my life way rather than the momentary, this was a good day way that is pleasant but does not change anything structurally. The structural kind, the kind that changes the baseline, that makes the previous baseline feel, in retrospect, like simply the before of a life that had not yet arrived at its own proper shape. Let me speak about what this happiness will touch the specific domains of your life that the convergence is moving through. In the relational domain, in the quality of the connections that surround your daily life, and the specific depth of being known and chosen and valued something, is shifting toward accuracy, toward the proportionate, toward the specific and satisfying experience of relationships that give back in the same currency as what you have been investing. Of being in the presence of people who see you clearly and respond to what they see with the quality of care that the seeing deserves. That shift from the imprecise to the accurate, from the insufficient to the proportionate, is one of the primary sources of the happiness approaching, and its arrival may feel less like the dramatic entrance of something new and more like the quiet, settling quality of something finally right. In the material domain, in the practical circumstances of your daily life, and the specific relationship between what you invest and what returns something is correcting the gap that has been characteristic of this period between effort and return, between the quality of what you bring and the quality of what the external world gives back, is narrowing in ways that will be felt rather than announced. In the specific daily, this is different now quality of circumstances that have shifted toward supporting the person living inside them rather than simply containing them. And in the internal domain, in the most important and least visible dimension of all, something is completing. A question that has been open for a long time about what you deserve, about what your life is allowed to contain, about whether the quality of person you are is proportionate to the quality of life that is available to you, is finding its answer. Not through external evidence alone, through the specific interior, finally, I know quality of someone who has arrived at the understanding that the answer was always yes, has always been yes, and is now for the first time being received as yes in the full and permanent way that changes how everything else is approached. Soft sigh. You are going to be so happy. Spirit said it, and I am saying it not as comfort, not as the well meaning reassurance of someone trying to make the present more bearable, as the honest, specific, this is what I actually encountered report of someone who sat with your energy today and found something they did not expect to find. The convergence is real. The alignment is forming. The happiness is not approaching from a distance. It is already in the near field of your life, already changing the quality of what surrounds you in ways that your attention, when it is fully present to the present rather than to the weight of the past, can already detect it. Pay the quality of attention to your own life that allows the subtle to be registered as significant. The morning that feels different. The interaction that carries more warmth than the previous pattern suggested was coming. The moment where something that has been tight in the chest, in the circumstances, in the daily experience of being you, releases slightly. These are not small things. They are the first visible evidence of the convergence breaking through the surface, the leading edge of something considerable making itself known before the fullness of it arrives. Receive the leading edge with the same quality of attention you will bring to the fullness. Because the happiness does not wait for the dramatic arrival. It is already in the quality of this moment, in the specific, against the odds. I did not fully expect to still be openness that you have maintained, and that spirit found so extraordinary when it encountered it today. The happiness is in that openness, has been in it all along. And what is coming is simply the world finally showing up to meet it in the way that it has always deserved. I am speechless because of what you are. And you are going to be happy because of what is coming to meet it. Both things are true. Both things are real. And the meeting of the two, your extraordinary openness and what the world is finally bringing to receive it, is going to produce something that deserves exactly the word spirit kept pressing forward. So happy, really, completely. In the specific and structural, and this changes the baseline way of a life that has finally fully arrived at itself. If this reading found you at exactly the right moment, if something here confirmed what some part of you has been quietly holding space for through everything, stay close, subscribe, and come back. Because the story of what arrives when genuine openness finally meets what it deserves is one worth witnessing all the way through to its most joyful and most complete expression. And the next reading will be there for every happy step of the arrival.